either. But they will be in one, hopefully one application. Yeah.
I have to ask Mr. Groff the question, have you been compliant with the, I shouldn't say that. Has the Lancaster County Conservation District made any findings on your property out there without getting into any gory details? Have they told you what you can and can't do, or what you did or didn't do was right or wrong? Yes or no?
There's no,
I know they visited your site.
yes, because of the complaint.
Right.
There was nothing, I had to put some mulch around to contain runoff,
Okay.
any possibility.
Yeah, their latest letter had some recommendations on stabilization, which I believe have been implemented. I have not seen a follow-up to either. Well, I have documents of a visit earlier this year and a
Right,
visit
that's the last I had heard of it.
maybe one in 2015.
And I guess those visits were initiated because of a downstream complaint, is that correct? Okay, I'll save something for later, but that's what I want to get into. Yes, Ken?
Just to clarify a little bit, riparian buffers are not in any way comparable to wetlands. Wetlands is a specific habitat that has been designed by stuff approved by Congress. How you identify it, and has specific boundaries that are something you can simply go out in the field and find exactly where they are. The riparian buffer is simply a setback designed to protect wetlands or streams. And that is potentially adjustable. For instance, New Jersey has major setbacks from wetlands for development. It's up, in some of the categories, up to 150 feet on each side. And what New Jersey's done with that is there is a way to get some relief, but still keep the effectiveness of that riparian buffer by allowing you in certain places to encroach further into it, but have to compensate for that area that you're taking out by adding it on elsewhere. So you're basically trying to retain the function of it. Obviously that's no way in your ordinances right now, but that would be something for future consideration if this issue continues coming up. It is important to have the riparian buffer from the MS4 sense, because what the riparian buffer is doing is it's keeping sediment out of the stream. As water comes into a forested area, a lot of the sediments deposited in that area before it gets to the stream. And so it is basically there to protect the stream from the type of pollution that we're trying to get rid of by the MS4 program. But again, there are ways you could do the same sort of protection without having necessarily 75 feet, but you need to, I think, be able to show that what you're proposing will be functionally equivalent to that riparian buffer.
And I'm listening to what you're saying, and I don't want to prolong this, but, you know, you could do that, but at some point in time, if the person who, like this one, doesn't have enough land, and the approach would be to, well, let them come a little closer here, but push them back there, they might not have enough property to push it back on, then that onus falls on the guy who isn't even part of the deal. He could be affected somewhere down the road. I don't see that as a good example of trying to solve this problem. I think the easier, I mean, we're saying we're going to rope off the edges of a stream so the cattle don't break down the stream bank walking across the stream so it doesn't pollute the stream. You know, if you're going to do that to keep a farmer's cattle out of the field, and here we're doing it on purpose, it makes no sense at all. It makes no sense at all to allow this to happen. It just doesn't. We're spending a lot of money to protect the stream, and now we're being asked to turn a blind eye to it and just let it go. Like I said, I'll never vote for that, as long as I'm up here.
think we have,
Zone area.
we have a direction.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you for your time.
Okay, moving on, Terry Reaper, East Cocalico Authority, letter of support.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Good
My-
morning, thank you.
My name is Terry Reber. I'm the administrator for the Water and Sewer Authority for the township, but I'm appearing today before you as also the township's representative to the ING in effort. The ING is the intermunicipal group. It is the oversight, if you will, group for the sanitary sewer system at Ephrata for the two treatment plants that they operate. I've sat in on a number of meetings with the ING group. And the ING group, I should say, is made up of Ephrata Borough, Ephrata Township, Denver Borough, East Cocalico Township, and Akron Borough participates, but they're not a voting member. So Ephrata is in dire need down at treatment plant number 1 down at the Ephrata Library of upgrading that plant. That plant is no longer able to produce Class A biosolids, which basically means everything that comes out, all the sludge that comes out of that plant has to go to landfills. It's very, very expensive. They have to transport it. They have to pay the landfill. If they can get Class A biosolids out of that plant, which they do at Plant 2, the one down here in Ephrata Township near the Green Dragon sign, they can apply it on farm fields, which greatly reduces Ephrata's costs to dispose of the sludge. It also keeps them in DEP compliance. There's a lot of benefits if they can get Class A sludge out of plant number 1. So, long story short, we've had a number of meetings. Ephrata's technical people have done studies, they've commissioned studies, and they came up with what they thought was the best way to upgrade plant number 1 to get it to be able to produce Class A biosolids, and that is a $12 million project. About a year ago, a second company showed up at Ephrata's door called Earth Care, and they had an operation where they could make a product out of the sludge, which they are calling biochar. And I think the best way to say it, it's like a charcoal product, which could be sold, could be land applied. The problem is that in the meetings that we've had with the Earth Care people and in discussions, there is no confidence on Ephrata Borough's part that the technology they are trying to sell is going to work. They claim it does, but when Ephrata does their due diligence, they can't find a plant where it's actually working. There's a couple supposedly in Russia, but it is almost impossible to get any information out of those people. And there's right now there is no market for biochar. Nobody's buying it. One of the reasons is because there isn't any biochar to sell. However, Earth Care keeps claiming that if Ephrata will invest $5 million, they could make this work, and Ephrata could make biochar, and they could develop a market. The reason Ephrata is asking for a letter of support from you and all the other communities that make up the ING is they do not want to take a flyer on a $5 million project with no guarantee it's going to work. They would much rather spend the $12 million, which is using proven technology. They know it works, and according to Ephrata, could keep them in compliance for another 20 to 25 years. So the letter of support is basically from you saying that you agree that Ephrata should go forward with their $12 million project that they know is going to work, and to not go the biochar route. So that's what the letter before you is.
The biochar is not, maybe you said it, maybe I missed it, it's not DEP, doesn't even recognize it.
Well, no, it would be an approved product if they could actually make it and if they can develop a market for it. Supposedly, the way I understand, farmers would then purchase this product to put on their fields. There
Instead
isn't
of
any-
getting it for nothing.
Exactly. And there isn't, and that came up, we said, no farmer is going to pay for
Yeah,
a
right.
product, and we'll give them a Class A biosolid for free, basically.
Yeah.
So I understand the earth care people are trying to come up with a new technology and make
Right.
things better for the environment. And this may be the way to go 10 years from now. This could really be something, but it isn't there today, and Ephrata cannot wait any longer. They are on the razor's edge of being in non-compliance with that plant number 1, so they must do something.
So let me ask this. So basically, but the way this company's presenting it is basically the $5 million is they're basically looking for VC funding.
No, well, the way I understand, the $5 million is to buy the equipment that Ephrata would need. They'd have to invest in that
Okay, so that's
equipment.
applied directly to our effort.
Yeah, it's,
Okay. Let me ask this question, backing up a little bit.
yeah.
Effort is non-compliance. Is that based on capacity, or is that the actual capability of the plant itself?
It's the capability of the plant. The equipment is that old now and antiquated that it just cannot produce to make Class A, you have to kill all the pathogens in the sludge, and the plant can't do it. Plant 2 does down here, but Plant 1 can't without this $12 million upgrade.
Okay, and what's the timeline for the upgrade? What's the?
They're ready to go almost immediately. They've done all their due diligence, they've done all their studies, they actually have it ready. I think they can move in the next probably 6 months if they get.
Okay, so it's not in a planning phase?
No,
They're long past
they're long, they were ready to go when this biochar company came in and threw this wrinkle in, and that pushed them back about a year to a year and a half because they thought they ought to at least really look into this and see if they can make it work. And this is where their problem comes in. They've now wasted a year and a half looking at biochar. They've come up with the conclusion that they don't want to take this chance. So now they must go now to be able to stay in DEP compliance. So that's where we're at.
So you're looking for a motion to?
Right, there is a sample letter in your packet that you could put on your letterhead if you prefer, if you would do that, and get it to Ephrata Borough as quickly as possible. They're asking for it no later, I think, than the 9th of October next week.
So let me ask one other question
Sure.
of you. So you're fundamentally satisfied with what you're seeing from Ephrata in terms of endorsing or recommending this $5 million letter?
Yes, the IMG Technical Committee, which I sit on, which Dan Becker's.
I'm sorry, $12 million.
Yeah, the $12 million, yes. Dan Becker, our board chairman, sits on that committee also, as do representatives from the other communities. We've all sat through numerous meetings, and the consensus of that committee is the $12 million project with proven technology is the way to go.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
you're welcome.
Is it open to gallery questions?
Yes.
What's the cost to East Cocalico Township in penalties or fees if this letter is not sent? Is there any kind of liquidated damages or environmental fees for not being compliant?
Well, if Plant 1 is found not to be compliant, there would be tremendous penalties from the DEP. I don't know how much they would be, but that's the whole issue. They can no longer, they basically have to shut that plant down, and then there's real problems.
You'd overload the other.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
this is a financial risk mitigation piece. You're mitigating risk. You're getting it to where it'll operate.
That is correct. If they spend the $12 million, they know they will be in compliance with DEP for many, many years. If they go the $5 million route, there is no guarantee it'll even work. And if it doesn't, they have to go back and do this very same thing again. And now they've lost 3 or 4 more years, and it's going to be even more expensive. So,
You money.
yeah.
So what's, I'm just curious, what's the forecasted time in terms of once the plan is operational to the new requirements, in terms of when it actually hits end of life in the future, just out of curiosity? Is it another 15 years down the road?
They are
20 years?
saying, Effort is saying that if they do this project, they will be in compliance. They're estimating for the next 25 to 30 years.
Okay.
Oh, good.
It's a long-term project. I mean,
Okay,
I'd make a motion, we send a letter.
I'll second the
No
motion.
support, letter of support.
Letter of support. I'll second the motion. Any other comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry.
Thank you, Terry.
yes, and I do have one more
Yeah,
item
yeah.
also related to the IMG. And just to let you know how this works, the members of the IMG have unlimited capacity between the two plants. So in other words, East Cocalico Township can send as much sewage down to Ephrata with no penalties. Akron Borough refused to join the IMG back in the day for reasons we won't get into today. But long story short, they do get their sewer services from Ephrata, but they are under a separate agreement, and their agreement says that if they overrun their allotted capacity, they have to pay a penalty. Well, when it rains like it did last year, and we have a lot of wet weather, of course, all systems have I&I. Akron's may be a little better or a little worse than the others, but they way over exceed their capacities that the IMG allows them to send. They are then penalized, and they have to put money into an I&I fund that the IMG holds. And that fund can be divided up between all the members for I&I remediation work.
You just hold on. You and I know what I&I is, and maybe somebody else in here doesn't, but
Inflow and infiltration. Inflow and
Leaks in the pipe.
Yep. Inflow and infiltration are leaks in the pipes. And it's mostly when it rains and the water tables are high, the water gets in.
Right.
And we send clean water down to the treatment plants and they treat it, and it's really a waste of money to be treating rainwater.
Right.
So the idea is to keep your pipes as clean, as tight as you can. And a matter of fact, while I'm here, I will say the authority has embarked on a long-term, multi-year, multi-million-dollar project where we are going to be televising and repairing all of the mains and laterals and manholes in East Cocalico Township. We are starting next week with the Gaiman Basin, Gaiman School out there, and we're doing a very big televising and investigation process, and that will lead to repairs, and then we'll keep moving through the basins. And it will take probably 5 to 10 years till we can get the whole way around, and when we do, we'll have to start all over again. But we have committed ourselves to reducing I&I and therefore reducing costs and keeping our people's costs down. So just want to let you know what we're doing. Anyhow, Akron Borough has paid a substantial amount of money into this I&I fund. I think there's about $82,000 in there, and that money can now be divided up. Akron is allowed to have their share of it, so Akron has asked for it, and so has Denver Borough. So the I&I, or the IMG needs a letter approving the payments to Akron and to Denver Borough. Akron is allowed to get $9,849, and Denver is allowed to have $8,719. So again, they're asking for that letter be sent to the IMG so they can release the monies to Ephrata and Denver.
is there a sample of that letter?
I think Penny put one together.
I would make a motion that we send that letter.
Yeah, I'll second that.
Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
sir.
Terry.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Old business, MS4, any developments? What? Yeah, we did that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, all right, sorry.
Yeah, we did that. Yeah. Yes,
Yes, in the near future, we are gonna be needing, funding for the, ERP projects, pollution reduction plan projects. We will be going after grants for those. There is one, we just got some preliminary plans on the project, and because of that, I think we're gonna be able to try to, if we really hustle, get an application in for a grant where the application is due on October 22nd. But it's for up to $200,000, which will cover most of the cost of the project. So that, I think, is certainly worth trying. It's a pretty good chunk of change.
All right.
And there's also another grant that's coming up in the fall that could additionally be used for that purpose. So hopefully we can get at least a significant portion of the EMS flow costs in the form of grants rather than taxes.
So we like to hear.
I like
That's
it,
nice.
yes.
And we keep throwing that term taxes around. I've been listening to a lot of TV and reading a lot of reports, and everybody's calling it a fee.
It's a fee.
It's a fee, it's not a tax. Anyway, thank you.
Revision of the mowing ordinance. Have they done any work on that?
No, it's, at some point it needs to be, I presume, turned over to Mr. Goodman. Actually,
I haven't seen anything.
no, I need to talk to you about that.
Work in progress.
That's why it's all business.
Just so people know, we were talking about changing the mowing ordinance so that you aren't having the keep it below 6 inches requirement on slopes more than 20%. So in other words, where you have steep ground, you wouldn't have to mow it to the same standards you would as the rest of your lawn.
And that's to help hold the soil in
Helps
place.
hold the soil in, and also for safety purposes. It's a little risky trying to get a lawnmower on a 20% slope.
It also slowed the flow of water too.
Right.
Any comments or questions? Okay. Fire Department Work Group, discussion and update.
No updates this week.
Okay. Adamstown Shooting Range, discussion and update, and the chief filled us in on that.
Nowadays.
No, thank God. We went away. New business, Water and Sewer Authority Board appointment.
We have an application before you for June Kinback to be appointed to the Water and Sewer Authority Board. I believe that term the original term expired December 31, 2018, so we're already 9 months into the new 5-year term. So if you would be appointing her,
And
she'd
June
have the
3rd.
balance of this year and then delivers.
Okay. What's the wish of the board?
I make a motion to appoint June as a voting member of the East Cocalico Township Water and Sewer Authority.
And I'll second that.
Any comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, June.
Thank you. Also in your packets is a accepted resignation letter was submitted by planning commission member Chris Fitterling. And so you would to accept that letter of resignation and start thinking advertising to appoint a new member.
And this is, his last day will be the 16th of December,
Correct.
Yes.
last meeting.
Yeah.
He's been at this for quite a while.
Yes. What's the wish of the board?
Well, obviously with regret, you hate to see these people leave, but
Moving out of the
moving on,
township.
yeah, right,
Mhm.
moving on, so I would accept his letter with regrets, thank him for his service.
I'll second the motion. Any comments or questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you.
Penny, can we send
Send
him?
out a letter.
Yeah, thank you,
Yeah.
and the
Right.
3 of us will all sign it.
Maybe it'd be nice to make find out how many years he served reserve and make a.
Do a resolution.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, manager's report.
I'm going to talk more about this in the executive session, but just bring you, what we can talk about out here is to date I've received 38 applications, 9 of which has some potential, and I forwarded those on to the board. I have also printed those out and they're now in your packet. Like I said, that's a personnel item that we'll discuss in executive session.
Okay. Any comments or questions of our manager? Okay, any public comment that we didn't address?
Jim?
I attended the Adamstown Council meeting this week because I was concerned about the proposed shooting range. And in the course of that meeting, they had a proposal from, I believe it's Garmin Builders, to build an 10 resident apartment building on the corner of Jason and 272. That's the last property, I believe, in Adamstown. Do they notify you or a planning board or zoning board or any person in East Cocalico that they are planning this?
No.
The council members pretty much said if they reduce the number of occupants to an 8 instead of 11 unit, that they would consider it. I'm concerned that that property is too small for that, and when they pave all that, will the water then go into East Cocalico?
Well, any new plan has to address its own stormwater, so
Okay.
they can't pipe water over into our township. Each property has to maintain and hold its own water, so.
And converted to a roadway or an adjacent
It's
property. That's the way it was reached.
I'm wondering, our property on our side of the street is gonna be next to be considered for an apartment building.
I haven't had any calls or concerns on that property.
Okay.
And I believe the Garmin family or Garmin Corporation owns.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay, we're going to recess to executive session, and we'll reconvene afterwards. Thank you. We'll take a 5-minute break too.